Hello, everybody. It is 12:38 p.m. Central Time on the 16th of December, 2018. It is Sunday here in the USA, already going on Monday internationally. Hope you are doing well. We are here on the Earthquake 3D live stream to talk about a few seismic events that have struck since last night. And if you're not aware, I do weekly earthquake forecast, which I issue every Sunday night. And last week, or 7 days ago, we issued our forecast for this week. That being said, let me turn on the display capture, make sure you can see what I see, and we'll talk about the earthquake starting in the West Pacific, make our way over to the United States, where there's not much more to talk about right now, at least. But you'll see the earthquakes marked in white. These are the earthquakes that struck last night going into today. And what you'll see, obviously, we're starting right here north of New Caledonia next to Ambrym Volcano, on the island that has Ambrym Volcano, 5.6, 5.2, 4s, and so forth. That's where we were last night. So this earthquake we talked about last night, and then today more activity struck. While that was all going on, over to the west, same sized activity. See how these are 5s, 5.2s, going up to 5.5, 5.6. Well, over to the west, 5 and 5.2. Striking across eastern Papua New Guinea, and then a 6.1 striking in western Papua New Guinea, right at the borderline here. And if you go back and listen to my forecast from Sunday night, again, 7 days ago, we issued a warning for the 6.1 to 6.2 to be striking right here. So that's a direct earthquake forecast hit in the middle of our warned area. Now, for my Aussie viewers, guys, look what happened here. 5.9 to 6.0 earthquake striking off the western northwest coast of Australia. And we're going to go get our coordinates on this, put the coordinates in, and show you what's right next to the earthquake location. There's something interesting, very interesting here. So we'll zoom in and show you. Pictures speaks 1,000 words. Here's the earthquake location on the coastal plain. And then out here, right here, is a place called Exmouth. Now, up at the tip of Exmouth, you have a huge hexagon-shaped array where at the center, we've got a building with a huge antenna. Now, the antenna you can't see. It's three-dimensionally, this would be going straight up. Now, I can go search over on Google or anywhere, Exmouth VLF. Naval Communications Station Harold E. Holt. The Harold Holt Naval Communications Station. And I'll just read this from Wikipedia. Or we could go, maybe they have a website of their own. Oh, here we go. They have the Shire of Exmouth, Western Australia. The submarine tender, here we go. Naval Communications Station Harold E. Holt is located 6 kilometers north of Exmouth. The area had a past history of military activity even before COMSTA was established. Okay, communication base starting in the 70s, rising to a height of 387 meters. That is Tower Zero, of which, at the time of construction, was the tallest man-made structure in the southern hemisphere. 12 towers stand in 2 concentric rings around its supported very low frequency antenna array, covering 1,000 acres, the largest in the world. The power plant within the VLF transmission station is one of the largest presently operated, made up of 6 diesel power generators, each possessing the capability to produce 3 million watts of power. So 18 million watts. Enough to power a city of 12,000 people. And a little piece of America. What is this? When the base was run and maintained by the U.S. Navy, they provided everything and anything to make their Navy personnel feel at home. Up to 200 American cars with left-hand drive were flown in and shipped to Exmouth. American cars with on the left, right? Oh, well, okay, there we go. Let's go get some pictures. Here's a 3-dimensional representation of its kind of low, there we are. So see how the wires are strung between the towers? And each tower is going up, 1,500 feet. They're huge. They're massive towers. So VLF. Why does VLF matter in relation to earthquakes? Anybody know? Now, I could tell you, we could talk about VLF and high frequency and microwave and how they all play in together, and what's the difference between VLF? Of course, VLF is a very low frequency. Microwave is an ultra high frequency. The difference is, of course, the distance of space between wave heights or valleys, or whichever way you want to measure it. So we're talking about a long frequency that sends out a long wave that goes thousands of kilometers. VLF can have a wave height that goes and reaches out 5,000 kilometers up and 5 down. You get 10,000 kilometer long wave where the peak, we're talking about a wave that can go across the whole Earth or through into the Earth in some instances, certainly penetrating the ocean and communicating with submarines. Now, they use HAARP facility up here in Alaska, high frequency, to produce low frequency now. So they can produce low frequency, VLF, using plasmas up in the upper ionosphere and atmosphere. And they create those plasmas using high frequency and, in some instances, microwaves. So using high frequency and microwaves, you can make plasma, which then vibrates like a bass speaker and generates its own VLF. Or you can generate VLF from a facility like Exmouth in an entirely different fashion using millions of watts of power and very large, long antennas spread out over what would be considered miles of stretch. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with over in Alaska. And then, Aussies, as if that wasn't enough, your southern edge of your craton down here started to move. And let's go get our information on this, put the coordinates in, see how close we are. Where's this listed from? Whyalla? Whyalla! Hey, get Dinga out there in the Whyalla. Get your prawns off the barbie and let's go take a look down here. Hey, you yank. All right. I'm the yank, right? Yeah, okay, here we are. Where are we? Well, okay, I think everybody in Australia knows the areas around here. Adelaide down to the southwest. What do we got down here? Port Lincoln down to the southwest, down to the southeast. And what's our nearest larger town? Port Pirie and Whyalla. Whyalla. All right. So there it is. Now we go over across China, and we don't have any earthquakes after last night's 5.4. This is a direct earthquake forecast hit. If you want to hear me name Papua New Guinea and this spot over here at the China-Myanmar border and several other locations, you can go listen to my forecast. It's from 6 days ago. Let me just quickly show you. If you want to hear me name all these areas, you don't have to take my word that I have warned these areas. Click on my videos and go over here to the 10th. Let's see, where's my global earthquake forecast? Right here. Okay, and you can just fast forward it to the spots where I'm talking, and we can take you over here to Papua New Guinea, for instance. Listen to me talk about Papua New Guinea in the 6.1.
In trade wreck, you see one go and then the other. Well, this I would put it more right in the middle as our fulcrum point. Now remember, we just had a 45,000 foot high blast here at Mount Manab.
Oh, wait.
That's going to be playing into things as well. The bigger the blast, the bigger the seismic reaction afterwards. As all that magma is exited, blasted out, then the plate boundary starts to go into motion. Now the magnitude I'm going to warn for here is going to be 6.1 to 6.2. So we're going a step and a half up above anything that's here now. And why am I doing this? Why am I elevating everything up one magnitude?
Okay, I go into explain why I'm elevating it up, but this is the spot. 6.1. So there, I mean, that was on the 10th. Today's the 16th. 6 days ago, they were issued the warning for 6.1 to 6.2 to hit. And today, on the last day of the forecast, 6.1 hits. And it's happened that way at this location here, next to Ambrum. It's happened this way at our fulcrum points. Look at our spacing. It turns out most people just don't care. The people in this chat do, and the people that are listening maybe care, but most people just don't want to know when an earthquake's coming. They just don't care. Whether it's the west coast of the United States or over here, the people here don't care. They don't want to know when an earthquake's coming. I issued a warning 6 days ago. Nobody even contacted me after this earthquake hit. Nobody gives two flying you-know-whats about it, even though it's a perfect earthquake forecast hit. So the people in Papua New Guinea don't want to know when an earthquake's coming. People on the West Coast don't want to know when an earthquake's coming. Professionals said they can't know when an earthquake's coming, even though I showed them that they could. And this is a perfect example of them seeing professionals, people all around the world, getting an earthquake forecast directly in the spot where it was warned. And crickets, guys, crickets. Nobody cares. Except for you guys here in the chat, which is a few hundred people out of several billion around the planet. So I'm just doing this, I guess, for a freak factor at this point. Let's go over to the west. What do we have? A boatload of threes going across all of eastern Kazakhstan and then going down into Iran. But what's out here in China? There's a 5.4 that hit last night. Is that it? Well, surely the USGS would tell us if there's any earthquakes that strike out here. We would, why would they hide an earthquake? They wouldn't hide earthquakes out here. There must just not be any. Let's go over and see. Well, okay, eastern Kazakhstan, that's showing some activity, but those are just in the 3 range. I'm more interested in the 4s and 5s that are being left out over in China and in Russia. Now, on page 1 of this, so far, I'm not seeing very much at all being listed out of China or anywhere in the area. So we're going to have to go to page 2, which really just shows what was going on this morning. Go over here to northern Xizang, China, and here's a 4.3. 4.3 out here in China. USGS reporting 4s and 4.1s, but they're missing this? This is just one example of a bunch, but let's put the coordinates in and show you where it is. Okay, there we are, right? We are in northern Xizang, China, right here. And we have another 4.0 earthquake that struck right over here next to Portala. So on both sides of this valley, a 4.3 and a 4.1 striking since last night. And these are just the ones that I'm pulling off the list. So are there other earthquakes that are striking out there? Likely there are. And again, what can I say? The USGS is not reporting the quakes. So it looks like nothing's striking out here, right? They got 3s over in Kazakhstan. Why wouldn't they have the 4s in China? This is, again, why wouldn't the USGS have 4s in China if the Europeans and everybody else are carrying the 3s right next to it? So last night, 5.4 and 4s going across where our arrow is. Where does it all point to? It all points to Iran. Iran's going to get hit, most likely by tonight, by a new 5. Where? Where our rings overlap. Southern edge, most likely on the plate boundary. But, I mean, don't fault me if it comes in on the northern edge right here where the rings overlap. I mean, it goes on both arrows on the plate boundary. But I'm looking down here to the south. But if our 5 comes in right on the north side of it, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either, since it's coming out of Russia and China with 4s and 5s. So it should go up into the mid-range 5 level in Iran. Then, today, new 4. Where? Well, take a look. Aegean Sea. Where? Not just anywhere. It is directly in the middle of our arrow. 4.3, exactly spot on in the middle of the arrow. Now, this should go up and around, following the arrow. Should go up around and go out towards the UK. UK did not get hit so far this week, at all. Now, I'm surprised by that. I would normally expect to see earthquakes out here on the English Channel going into the UK, coming out of Holland, especially after all the hits that happened over in Poland and in Romania. Is it just taking a day longer? We'll see. I mean, we still have till tonight at 10 p.m., about 10 more hours my time. And then, if it were to hit into tomorrow, I would still count it. But there we go. I mean, so we're looking at a new 4 down here right on the back end of our arrow. It's not just chance or coincidences that's falling in the middle of the arrow. That's the transfer zone. This is where it starts, and then it goes all the way across Europe and ends up out here. Now that we have new 4s, mid-range 4s down in South Europe, guess who's going to get hit by mid-range 4s up here? Iceland up to the North Pole. Jan Mayen, Svalbard, Iceland, and here's the North Pole with our X, if you will. All right, so that's the West Pacific. Again, recapping. 6.1 hit directly in the middle of our warned area. 5.9 to 6.0 struck next to the VLF station down in Australia. And 5s connecting equal distantly spaced back to where our push began with all of our deep quakes. Last night, the 5s went down towards the Kermadec as well. So here we are, 48 hours worth of quakes. Let's get all the small ones out of there and just look at the 5s and greater. Do you see it? So we have 5s and 5s, and in the middle of it all, the 6.1. The middle point between all these fives just came under pressure, and it's the biggest release. Spreading down to Australia to the south, spreading up to China to the north, spreading all the way down to the Kermadex north of New Zealand. That's the spread. And it all is traced back to our deep quakes. So now Japan should be moving next. I mean, if all this is moving down to the south, Japan and Indonesia and Philippines and Alaska, and then over here to the east, man, I mean, we have, 17 different volcanic blasts that happened yesterday across the plates. 8 on one side, 8 on the other, that's 16, and then 1 to the north up at Veniaminoff up in Alaska. So, deep earthquakes, 17 volcanic blasts in a day, bouncing back up to 6s, and getting hit more rare locations. VLF. You know what? We need to go check it. Let's go look at the Mimic TPW. See if anything shows. It might not show anything. I haven't checked it. I have no clue what's on here. Let's go see. Global 2. Is there anything hold on. First thing I'm seeing is some flashing going on across the Pacific here. Hold on. All right, the white spots are missing data. We can wait for those to get filled in. But out here, northeast of Japan, and what's going on over here next to Alaska, or next to Australia? Well, it looks like we have a little disturbance out here in the Indian Ocean. I'm not seeing any global-wide pulses or anything of that sort, so we're not seeing big waveforms appear across the world. That's good news. So it's not really showing that much, except for a few stray pulses, if you will, and one of which is out here south of India, going out over the Indian Ocean. Okay, well, we'll just have to keep an eye on that. That would be all the way out here. What else is going on? Let's go over to the United States, Central America, South America. Who got hit since last night? Well, look at that. New 4.3 coming in directly at the middle point between Sabancaya volcano, which is erupting here, and Reventador erupting here up in Ecuador. So the halfway point, a 4 coming in the middle point. And down to the south, a 4.8. Where is this? This is right at the border of Bolivia, Chile, where Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile all meet. 4.8 to 4, actually a 4.9, USGS has it. Europeans have it at 4.8. Over in the Eastern Caribbean, just a few new 3s to talk about at this moment, and this is east of Puerto Rico. Now, we're on the last day of this. I don't know if the 3s or upper 3s are going to be coming in to Jamaica. It doesn't look like it, but famous last words. Look, it's standing out between 2 huge clusters of quakes, and we have 4 simultaneous blasts going on here. We have Popocatépetl in central Mexico. We have Santa Guido and Fuego here in Guatemala, and we have Turrialba down in Costa Rica. And we'll put that all together. Let's go check the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center and just take a look. Soputan is still going over in Indonesia, by the way. But Turrialba, Veniaminoff, Planchon Petaroa, Ambrum, these all just popped on the list in the past few days. And again, I mentioned Central America, Fuego, Turrialba, and then down South America, Reventador and Sabancaya. Up north in Alaska, Veniaminoff over and over again. And that takes us into yesterday. So today's list is a little bit shorter, which stops right about here. And then yesterday's list, just massive, as we had 17 simultaneous eruptions going on in one day's time. And those are volcanic ash advisory eruptions. Those are not just lava flows, which there's many more volcanoes that are having undersea eruptions and small lava flows, like out at Piton de la Fournaise over here next to Madagascar. Those have lava flows. But these are volcanic ash advisories, which means blasts, of course, which are different, as we all know. Okay, so big-time activity volcanically speaking today. Central America, after going through the roof volcanically, I would say it's building. Whenever we see something like this, it's like a point between waves. If you ever did any surfing, you're waiting for the next wave to come in. We've already seen some big surf already up, and we know to expect more, and we're waiting for the next round of waves to come in. That's where we're at. Now, looking at the United States, today, hush hush. Let's wait for this to refresh. Today, I'm serious. Today, hush hush. Look. Now let's go turn on our 0.0 and greater feed just to see the small quakes. So when there's no felt quakes in the 2.0 plus range, what's going on with the small events in the last 24 hours? So yesterday, this is last night, these pinkish and reddish colored earthquakes, so I could get those out of there. There we go. Here's everything since last night, since my update. Leaving off with the 2.1 that struck up here in Montana. So you see where it's clustered, right? All across California. And in 12 hours, where are we focused in on? Geysers, California, here, north of San Francisco. Northeast of the Central California border, over at Aurora Bodie Crater, right next to Mud Springs Volcanic Butte. Then down here along the coast, the largest earthquake of the day so far, next to Monterey Bay on the creeping section of the San Andreas. So, 3.0 on the San Andreas. Force coming down, releasing at the center. Down to the south here, right here, we are at Cozo Volcanic Junction next to Templeton Mountain, Golden Trout Creek, and that oval shape of volcanoes that I showed you last night and I showed you the last few weeks as it's been getting hit. Over here in California, let me show it to you. This right here, these volcanoes, we have an earthquake now happening here on this east side. Last night we were dealing with right in the middle of it. Now, why does this oval shape of volcanoes matter in Southern California right here? Well, here's LA, and here's the oval shape of volcanoes, but something else is right here. Camp Nelson on the back side of this. And it started to get hit with earthquakes 3 weeks ago before the fires broke out. Now we have new earthquakes breaking out next to it. So, creeping section of the San Andreas, 3.0, 1.9, 1.6. Up to the north at Geysers, just a few ones. Just a few twos over at Aurora Bodie Crater. Another two down here next to Templeton Mountain and Cozo Volcanic Junction. Now, we absolutely, positively need to go into the LA Basin. What's out here on the West Coast? This is not flyover country. You fly over this country, you're going out over the ocean. So we need to pay attention to what's going on here. This is where all the important people live, right? Why did they do this then? If all these important rich people live here, why the heck did they drill out all the oil and gas right here in the Baldwin Hills in the LA Basin, right next to your earthquake hotspot for the entire country? And here's Beverly Hills. So it's right on the edge of Beverly Hills, guys. I mean, we're just a couple miles. Baldwin Hills, large oil and gas pumping operation. Now, Thousand Oaks is right next to here. This all just burned. And the whole thing burned. So now, and we had a series of by the way, before the fire started there, we had a series of earthquakes strike from Santa Monica over to Baldwin Hills. So a bunch of earthquakes hit here, then fires broke out here. Bunch of earthquakes hit up here at here, and then fires broke out here. Same with up to the north. Bunch of earthquakes broke out here at Long Valley. Fires broke out on the backside of Mammoth Mountain in August. We go up here, bunch of earthquakes broke around out here around this oval shape, and then Paradise, California caught on fire. We also have to remember Oroville Dam also fractured here, and they couldn't figure out why. So we got the fires, we got the dam breaking, we've got earthquakes on the backside of here, and don't forget, right here, this county, with this hump on the backside of the county, kind of looks like a camel. The top of the hump, this whole thing, was heated, showing as a geothermal hotspot, picked up by satellite just over the past several days. So back down in Southern California, oil pumping operation, no doubt about it, Baldwin Hills, 1718, right there. Now down to the east by southeast, it's just a handful of quakes on the on the San Jacinto, and one lone quake on the San Andreas. So 12 hours, I'm going to say it, nada. I mean, it is low. We're looking at next to nothing compared to where we normally are. So what's going on? To me, that says something's building. If we have that kind of activity going on, it says something's building. You don't just go from major plate unrest like this down to zero. That doesn't happen. And we are on the opposite side of all this. The United States gets hit last off all this force that comes around the planet. Starts over here, goes up and around and down into the United States. And we just had Veniaminoff erupt. Alaska should flare back up here too and go back up into the 5 range back next to Anchorage. So you're going to go from 2s and 3s and then get slammed again with a new 5, maybe even upper 5, as the force is coming across. Veniaminoff lighting up. We also go back to Shivalush, which is erupting here, Ebiko, which is erupting here, Sakurajima, which is erupting here, and then our others, Soputan, Ibu, and Dukono erupting here, Krakatau erupting here, Ambram erupting here. Put it together, all the eruptions and the volcanoes, or all the eruptions from the volcanoes and the earthquakes are signifying that we're dealing with a more unrest than usual. Where's the unrest coming from? The deep earthquakes that hammered up on the underside of the plate over here in the West Pacific. So, are you shocked to see when we get a bunch of deep earthquakes raised high off the globe, sandwiched in between the deep quakes, we then get a 6, we get some other activity down in Australia, and on the opposite side of the planet, we get our 7? That's what's going on. The planet is in motion right now. I mean, it always is in motion, but it's a state of unrest. Now, we can go back to last week's solar buffeting that happened, the magnetosphere bouncing around, the mimic event that happened where a giant wave appeared and went down into the South Sandwich Islands at the time of the earthquake, a giant waveform seen on the mimic microwave background imagery. That all happened this past week. Now, we're not done moving yet. There's still other activity that's going to develop in the next few days based upon the deep earthquakes. I'll have a new forecast out tonight at 10 p.m. Central Time that'll cover the next 7 days. But these deep earthquakes, we have to watch 7 days from the point where each deep earthquake happens. So it's going to be kind of overlapping forecast this week. This deep 5.2 struck on the 14th, 2 days ago. Well, there's 5 more days to watch in Japan for a new 6.1. That's just one spot. Same with these deep 4s. Each deep 4 we watch for 7 days. This one happened on the 14th. Again, 2 days ago. So we have 5 more days in the watches for our current deep quakes. And if new deep quakes happen today, that's 7 more days from today. So we have it's like the weather. Once one system forms and another one's already on the menu. And we wait for those to fill in, and one can form halfway through the week. A meteorologist issues a 1-week forecast for rain to be coming in by Sunday night. And long about Saturday or Friday night, a new low pressure system begins to form off the coast. And then you say, okay, well, there's a new low pressure getting ready to form. We're already looking for this to happen. They're going to collide and overlap, and we're going to have an overlapping forecast. That's what we're dealing with here. This is the jet stream flow of the earthquakes. That's my main discovery on this, aside that deep earthquakes cause shallow, large earthquakes, and fulcrum points get filled in, and that earthquakes can be forecast and progress across the planet. The other connection to this is the arrows, the way it flows, that this is the jet stream flow overall for the seismic forces. Okay, now that you understand that, you can watch it. You can watch the earthquakes progress across the planet like watching a giant storm system follow the jet stream. Have a plan. You need to definitely keep watching, have a plan, and be prepared just in case. I talk about it all the time. I'm not going to lecture you, but I am going to tell you to have a plan and at least have an emergency kit that covers you on day 1. You can get a backpack, put the stuff in it that you need for first day. Change of clothes, set of shoes, food, water, form of communication, flashlight, batteries, first aid kit, extra set of keys. Come on. This is all basic stuff. If you're a grown adult or even a teenager at this point, or even a kid at some instance, you should be able to at least take care of yourself on day 1 by having a bag that has the stuff in it that will get you through day 1. Now, after day 1, this goes into long-term planning and preparation, and the government tells you to have 2 weeks supply of food now. 2 weeks supply of food and water. I would never wait for the government to come save me from anything. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. They're drilling out Baldwin Hills. Are you going to wait for these guys to come save you? Big Brother just drilled it all out. Or you think they're going to come save you? They can't even plow the road right here in the Midwest when it snows. You think they're going to come save you in an earthquake? You might as well have your own plan. And if you're lucky enough that Big Brother does come and save you, where are they going to take you? They're going to put you in a gymnasium on a cot with a bunch of crying kids you don't know. And no offense to the crying kids. I'd probably be crying too if I was in a very upset state. But is that where you want to be? Or do you want to be in your own campsite that you've picked out somewhere, or hotel or whatever, far away from where you currently are, outside of the disaster zone? Now, I can already tell you, I've already picked out several campsites across the country. Privately owned, privately run, open year-round, and they have the facilities at these places that you need, the basic stuff. So, of course, sanitation and, bathroom facilities, those kind of things. You can pick out a campground, and it's going to be cheap. It's cheap compared to a hotel. For the cost of a few nights at a hotel, you could stay weeks at a campground. And if you've got the appropriate gear, you'll be okay. Now, if you're outside, are you going to be okay in the winter? You have to have the appropriate gear to do that, right? So that's where planning comes in. I'm not going to try and tell you need to go buy stuff. You might live in a warm area where you don't need all the insulation gear. But you also might live north of me where it's frigid all year long almost. So just think about your surroundings, and God, you'll be way better off than all the people who just, I don't know why they won't, but they just won't pay attention. All right, do you like what I do? Let's go over to YouTube. Let's go over to YouTube. Say hi to everybody on YouTube. 293, 953. Hey, I'll hit 294 again this week. Hey, I just hit 294 last week. And then they removed hundreds of subscribers. So I'm going to hit it again. I get to celebrate again. It's like having a birthday twice in a week. And they'll just shave off a couple years, or a couple weeks, and you'll have another birthday in a few weeks. Incredible. Awesome. Hey, could you guys share the information? Look at this. Spread of new earthquakes and 17 volcanoes has only been seen by 7,000 people around the entire planet. I think that's a little low. I think everybody in the world would need to see it to understand, or a lot of people would need to see it. 7,000, I don't know. That's not really going to help too much. Boy, I think YouTube might be. No, they couldn't do that. YouTube doesn't censor anybody, do they? I've never heard of that. That's a conspiracy theory. Let's go over to Twitch and say hi to all my viewers. You guys are absolutely fabulous. Thank you for sharing the information over on Twitch and doing your part. And I really enjoy it. 17,000 followers. And look, we got more viewers than over on YouTube. With just 17,000. Amazing, the crowd over on YouTube. Look, Doc Rock, Tazzy Mama, everybody in here, you've done your part. We've really made a difference in the world, and you may have saved lives or at least prevented injuries. Okay, so if you want to follow, it's free. If you want to subscribe, that financially compensates me, and I appreciate it because I don't get paid on the ads here. Look, what's it? Okay, so if you want to follow, well, there we go. No ad playing, but if an ad plays, I don't get paid for it on Twitch. I'm not a partner. So if you want to support my operation, I think there's still time for you to get Dutch Sense items, but you have to order them like express shipping and all that stuff to get it in the next several days. They have to print it and ship it. Dutch Sense items are still available. Blankets, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers. Let's go to page 2. I don't normally do that. Look what's on page 2. Look what's on page 2. The Dutch Sense tote bag. Dutch Sense. Don't be scared. Be prepared on one side. And on the other side, much love in your face. So if you want to get a Dutch Sense tote bag, you could still theoretically get it. All right. We will be back if anything else goes down. Be safe. Have a plan. Be prepared. Don't be scared. There is no reason to be scared. We know where the force starts. We know where it spreads out from. We know where it's going to. If we know where the force starts with the deep quakes, and we know where the force is going to the X's on the opposite side of the planet to reach equilibrium, and we know the avenue it can take, the plate boundaries and craton edges, and we know that the magnitudes get dropped off along the way, then we can start to calculate our magnitudes along the way of the trajectory of the force. So it's like having a road map. And look what just hit. One more time. Where I started off the broadcast, I'm going to end it right here. 1:11 p.m. Perfect timing. It's magic. A 6.1 striking in the middle of our warned area. Science magic, guys. Fulcrum points. Basic stuff here. Equilibrium and distribution of pressure across a distance. Okay, much love, everybody. I'll be back. I'm going to save this as a video over on YouTube, and we will premiere it back and watch it again, and I'll be in chat with you. Peace out.